When I was a kid, my parents were debating whether or not to put me on Ritalin. Instead, they decided to enroll me in a theater class at the Civic Theater of Greater Lafayette in Indiana. The infamous director of that class, Ann Welsh, took one look at a child that had been diagnosed overly energized, unfocused, erratic, and she said, "That child right there is an artist." And she said, "Artists are the ones who change the world." I know, but I was a kid, right? So, that is a tall order. And I have to admit that I'm still making sense of this, but I think I'm getting closer. I think I'm getting closer to understanding that the lessons of theater might just be how we make sense of ourselves and could, in fact, change the world. When my parents were deciding how to channel my energy, I kept myself busy mowing our endless lawns, thinking about what I might or might not say if I were ever on the Rosie O'Donnell show, and watching over and over Footloose so that I could learn the dance moves, also known as stare at Kevin Bacon's hips. I know I'm not alone. And when I wasn't partaking in these very complicated, rigorous hobbies, I was watching every movie ever made starring Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, you heard me right. Whoopi Goldberg. It was the glory of Whoopi as Sister Mary Clarence in the blockbuster film Sister Act that really put the pedal to the metal. It was in that moment watching that film that this awkward kid who collected chinchillas, named his body parts, played Barbie dolls with his sister, and sang Meatloaf with his brother, and experienced what he called hyperspasms, realized that there was a whole lot more to life. A whole lot more. After all, if a nun can find her voice, why not me? I remember the exact moment that I walked into the Video Update, that is a video rental store, those used to exist, and I checked out Whoopi's 1984 solo Broadway show. Once in hand, once home, once lights turned down low, there she was, on my 13-inch screen TV playing multiple characters right after another. And I raised my glass of Mountain Dew as if it were champagne, and I toasted her to thank her for transporting me from the cornfields of Indiana to Broadway. I said that. I want to do that. For my 13th birthday, my loving parents took me to see my first Broadway show starring... Yes. The show was A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Yeah, okay, let's get it. Stephen Sondheim meets Whoopi Goldberg in artistic matrimony. This gay boy almost dissolved. Before the show, I sent backstage a note and a bouquet of flowers to Whoopi because I am as strategic and thorough as I am odd. And at intermission, an usher brought out to me a note from Whoopi. And written on it was, "Dear Andrew, I see you in the front row in your cow tie." I was wearing a very large tie with a cow on it. To my first Broadway show. She says, "Dear Andrew, if you want to make a life in theater, you can and you will." She didn't have to tell me twice. I wasn't going to let Whoopi down. I wasn't going to let Ann Welsh down. I wasn't going to let my parents down. So I decided to follow her orders to a T and set my sights on becoming an actor on Broadway. Bring it on, bright lights. But, all right. But, like any good story, this one did not turn out as expected. Little did that teenage kid know that he was going to step off stage forever into the dark. Little did he know that he would have to cross the country, all the way from New York City to the wild west of Seattle. Only now does that wild Energizer bunny of a man-boy understand what it means to make a life in theater, and more importantly, to use theater in life. Now, I'm blessed because I'm the producing artistic director of the Intiman Theatre, so I get to see from a front row seat how theater can and does change people one at a time. Let me give you 3 examples. Theater allows us to experience wrongness in real time, right? Think about it. When was the last time you said to yourself, I am wrong, and then continued forward and you're also comfortable knowing wrongness? Never. It is cognitively impossible. You have to go through a change or a transformation. Something has to happen for you to arrive at the statement, I was wrong. And any good piece of theater has a moment where somebody or a group of somebodies get it dead wrong. Think about Tevye in the opening of Fiddler on the Roof when he sings Tradition, right? Never before was there a man more wrong that things would never change. Because when you're wrong, it means change is afoot. This past summer, we produced the stunning play, Wedding Band, a love-hate story in black and white by Alice Childress. Yeah, I get it. This stunning play tells the story of Julia, a black seamstress, and Herman, a white baker, and their hard-won love story in 1918 Jim Crow, South Carolina. Let that sink in. In the climactic moment of the play, Julia finally confronts Herman for his privilege and responsibility as a white man, and try as he might to deflect and defend by saying, I didn't do it. It wasn't me who did that to your people, and we have troubles too. Julia pressed on, because what you don't say, you swallow down, she says. And she says, but it was your people that did that to my people. And in that moment, Herman does something that he has never done before. He takes responsibility. And only in that moment can the two of them and all of us gathered around them begin our healing. Theater, the gathering of humans in a room telling stories, allows that which has gone unsaid to be spoken. Not only can it be spoken, but a path forward is proposed. Very simply in this case, a white man is looking at a black woman, both with tears in their eyes, and he says, it wasn't the law, it was me, and I failed you in every way. It's so simple. I love to think that then the actors toss that to the audience like a ball and say, catch. What are you going to do with this? This which we have given you. After all, you can't unsee it. At this moment, very literally, anything could happen. Anything. I'm not kidding, right? Anything. Isn't that exciting? Doesn't that just pull you a little bit closer? Doesn't that take the chatter in your mind and go, oh God, what's going to happen? At this very moment, in fact, an angel could break through the ceiling, swoop at light speed through the air, land right above my head and say, the great work begins. That is how Tony Kushner chooses to end the first part of his epic masterpiece, Angels in America. I directed the show a few years ago and would sneak into the theater every night for this specific moment and watch as a room full of strangers were reconsidering the 1980s and listening to the foul mouth of Roy Cohn echo through time. And I would watch as they were all suddenly, in one moment, pulled into what I call the public now. Now, this is different than the private now, right? And they're delightful. The private now might be that right swipe on a certain app that just promises some sort of comfort in this cruel, cruel world. Did you see how habitually I just went right like 4 times because I'm programmed for it? A private now might be a Snapchat made just for you, or the giggle of a video on a bus, and those are important. But a public now are those moments where you are pulled into the same moment as everyone around you. It's what's happening here today. And what it means both in actuality and as a metaphor is that even if we have nothing else in common, we all saw this. We all experienced it. And you know what? That's a start. I've been developing for years a musical called Stew for Silverton by Breedlove and Peter Duchenne. Excellent, cheers. And this musical tells the story of the first openly transgender mayor in America, Stu Rasmussen. Now, this was before Caitlyn Jenner, Laverne Cox, Transparent. I like to say that the musical is a mix between The Music Man and Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah. The musical tells the story of a small town, population less than 10,000, in rural Oregon, Silverton. To quote the musical, "Picture perfect, picturesque, Rockwell would approve." And this town, this small American town, elected a gender anarchist to be their mayor in 2008. And the Westboro Baptist Church, surprise, surprise, showed up to protest. Yeah. But what could have turned into a dark and dreary day did not. In fact, it turned beautiful. 200 townspeople, men, women, children, you name it, dressed up in drag and marched the Westboro Baptist Church out of town. Right? As someone from one, that is what small towns can do. Now, this musical asks people what they think of an elected official who doesn't go by he or she, but just Stu. Would they themselves vote for Stu? And what is revealed about our communities when we encounter a hero who is unlike any hero we have ever seen before? Thanks to the All-American musical, we asked audiences to step inside the lived experience of someone else. And that, my friends, is called empathy. And when you enter a theater, whether you're ready for it to happen or not, it happens. People love to say, oh, the year is 2016 and never before have we seen, or because of all of this technology, you know what we have to do. And as if we've been really good at talking to each other, in 1964 or 1864. But I do have a feeling, and it's a deeply felt feeling, that we are going to be leaning on these lessons of theater, and we are going to be needing them. When we admit that we are wrong, we change and we grow, although it is hard. When we live in mystery and let the present moment surprise us, we change and we grow, although it is damn hard. When we consider someone else before ourselves and think, what are their obstacles? What is the world like for them? We change and we grow, although it is the hardest of all. Yeah, it is hard. So we need simple tools to help ourselves make sense of it. And in this year, this modern year, there are so many tools. But since theater saved my life so many years ago, I am sticking with it. And I don't just mean, you don't need the bells and whistles to make theater. I'm talking about simple stuff. I'm talking about this kind of theater, this eye-to-eye style, this there's nothing left but you and me in the same room, so we might as well talk to each other style. Because after all, we are greater than our cell phones. We are greater than our screens and the swipes in our day or our thousands of friends on Facebook or the ping of an instant message. We, in fact, evolved ourselves to be greater than just plugged-in brains. We were made to talk to each other. We were made to stay in the same room. We were made to think about that which we have in common more than that which is different. And we were made to laugh, and we were made to cry. But the key, folks, is that we were made to do that together, not alone. So I'm asking all of you to go inside heart, mind, soul, and push all systems go. Call in the reserves. Do not let a superpower rest. For me, that superpower is theater, and I'll keep doing it. Because let's be real, y'all, we got work to do. Thank you.